Hey guys, the name's Arnel, and my partner's Johnson. Today we're going to be presenting our STEM activity on drug abuse, tackling drug abuse with the law. Just a little disclaimer, the information presented is based on research conducted by our presenters. We encourage everyone to participate in the discussion and do your own research as well to be informed. Thank you.
Okay, so what is drug abuse? So, drug abuse is the unhealthy or harmful use of substances, both legal and illegal substances, from alcohol, tobacco to meth and to more illicit drugs such as meth and cocaine. For the most part, these substances are used for mood altering purposes or to achieve a high. Okay, so now we're going to go on into the impacts of substance abuse. So the first kind of major impact of substance abuse is financial instability. And when people struggle with substance abuse, they kind of fall into a pattern of drug abuse or addiction. And drugs cost money, so people will spend more and more, which eventually lead to financial instability. The next impact is the increased risk to commit crime. So, most drugs, especially street drugs, are illegal, and they do come with consequences. Getting caught in possession of these types of drugs can lead to severe punishments with the law. Okay, and lastly, we have permanent health damage. So, of course, when you are using these types of drugs, they're not made for your body. So, from degrading appearances to failing organs, drugs does take a toll on your health over time. Okay, so some further impacts of substance abuse are relapse. Users also start losing a sense of rationality, family separation issues, and we'll go further into that with the video because it really talks about how substance abuse doesn't just impact the user but the people around them as well. And then of course we have mental issues such as paranoia, depression, and anxiety. So unfortunately these impacts may lead to damage of a person's physical, mental, and social well-being, affecting not only the people using and abusing the drugs, but their families as well. So now we're going to look into a national overview. So these are some statistics from American Addiction Centers as well as the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. So, according to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, over 19.7 million Americans aged 12 and older have battled substance abuse use disorder in 2017. Just keep in mind, this is the same year that Mr. Brennan, our speaker in the TED Talk, gave his speech. And about 38% of adults battled an illicit drug use disorder. One out of every eight adults struggled with both alcohol and drug use disorders simultaneously. And drug abuse and addiction cost the American society more than $740 billion annually in lost workplace productivity, healthcare expenses, and crime related costs. So, this it really shows that there is a need for people, professionals in this field to stop drug use before it even happens, from DEA agents to, Border Patrol. This is all very important.
So here's another national overview. This is within the United States. So these articles in particular are focused on drugs, but specifically, these are prescription drugs. So opioid is a very common painkiller that a lot of patients are prescribed with. And unfortunately, because they are getting used to these dosages, they want more. And when they want more, they'll start getting addicted. So articles like these, like the second one, for example, a third of young Americans with prescribed psychiatric drugs misuse them. And it is said that these drugs are supposed to help us, but look at it now. They're doing the absolute opposite. We got states like Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska. These three states alone are investing $20 million in total just to fight opioid addiction. And this money is used for both drug treatments and enforcement. And keep in mind, they're just fighting one drug, and there's still a lot more drugs to fight because of this. And this isn't an issue exclusive to one place like the United States. This is a global issue. we, the people in the CNMI, have our fair share of these instances. Like this article, for example, CNMI cracks down on meth traffickers. A couple years ago, um, task force agents arrested Chinese nationals that was in possession of $29,000 worth of ice. And the first one, or like the article on top, talks about almost 200, no, $190,000 worth of illegal substances have been smuggled through the post office. And this is the very post office that we people use every day to get our mail, send our mail to loved ones. And the fact that people are going through these extreme lengths just to get their fair share of high, it's insane. And what's crazy is that at a glance, these substances, or like the people who take these, like especially when they're just starting out, they look normal, but as time passes they'll start deteriorating because of this. So here are some sample law enforcement careers that help combat substance abuse. There are thousands and thousands of men and women who have joined the fight to stop substance abuse, and this is the people who are in this job in the law enforcement side. So here are some sample career paths. You got DEA officer, police officer, and narcotics officers. These types of officers are the frontline officers that respond first, especially in crackdowns, or like drug crackdowns. If you don't know what are those, that's when when law enforcement and other agents like storm in a certain place, and then they'll start investigating and confiscating drugs. We got diversions investigators. These are people who combat misuse of prescription drugs, as like the aforementioned articles that I've spoke about earlier. Because these drugs are supposed to help people, but not keep them hooked. We got a forensic specialist, people who work at the drug court, and our guest speaker who works as a drug prosecutor in the AG's office. So here are some recommended colleges that uh, help you for explore this career path further. So we got Northern Marianas College and University of Guam. So what's interesting is that around spring of 2019, they had a collaboration where students with associate's degrees can pursue bachelor's program from UOG. So you'll be using the University of Guam's IDP. And what's interesting is that instead of going to the island itself, they're going to bring instructors here, and they're going to provide online classes. But because of COVID, classes are online again. But prior to that, they actually had instructors that stopped by at Saipan and provided class time there. And on the right, we have some sample colleges like Florida State, University of Cincinnati, University of Nebraska in Omaha, Michigan State University. And I've managed to reach out to all four of these colleges, and they I've gave them our sample criminal justice IDP, and for the most part, they're all transferable. So feel free to check them out. I've gotten two emails from Florida State University and University of Cincinnati to they actually have summer orientation. So if you want to check that out, go for it, because they're preparing for summer classes as usual. And if you want, you can also register for fall semester, which is coming up. So give them a try. And I would like us to introduce our guest speaker for the day.
Hey, everybody. Uh, Thanks, Arnel and NMC, for the invitation to come and speak. This is a very important subject to discuss, and I'm glad that they've given me the opportunity to come and speak to you guys, because this is what I do for a living. If you don't know me, that's actually a good thing. That means that you haven't been involved in the criminal justice system, because, and if you do know me, that means that you might have seen me in court, and that's not where you want to be. I'm a prosecutor, and so I am the attorney that you don't want to know. And if you ever get arrested, or if somebody that you know gets arrested, or whenever a person gets arrested, they show up in court, and I'm the first attorney that they see. I'm the one that's opposite them. I actually am the person who's responsible. Well, actually, I represent the Commonwealth in any case where there's somebody who has been accused of committing a crime. Uh, as a prosecutor, I'm responsible for holding people accused of committing crimes accountable. And that's kind of what I do. I've been doing that for the last 14 years now. The first 7 years, I was a prosecutor in Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii. Uh, I actually was a teacher here in 2000 to 2004 in Tinian. Uh, and then I went to law school in Hawaii, became a prosecutor there, and then I came back, and I've been a prosecutor here ever since. And for about the last 4 or 5 years, I've been focused on drug cases. Uh, People always ask, what's the biggest difference? And obviously, there's a lot more cases in Hawaii than there are here. But the major difference is that in Hawaii, they have already developed an infrastructure in how to deal with people who commit crimes, especially those people commit crimes because of their addictions. And since for the last 4 or 5 years here, I am really glad and that the CNMI and the judiciary, the judiciary and the court system and the Attorney General's office has taken a different stance on how to deal with people with addictions. Because before, if a person committed a crime, regardless if they had an addiction or not, we throw them in jail and throw away the key. But now the infrastructure is coming forth. There's the Hope facility up in Marpi, where people can check themselves in if they have an addiction. There's CGC, which is a government-run treatment organization that provides treatment for people with addictions. Also, we have the drug court, which Arnel mentioned earlier. The drug court is really good. I've been a part of drug court since day one. Drug court is basically if somebody commits a crime, they get arrested and they have an addiction. They go through a process where they apply to drug court, and then they at the end, if they graduate from drug court, then they get their case dismissed. But it's a hard work. It's a 2-year program. It's sort of like probation, but it's focused on people with addictions, and those addictions mostly are about meth or alcohol. I mean, those are the two main substance abuse issues in the CNMI outside of cigarettes, and we don't treat people for cigarettes. The only problem with the drug court is that you have to get arrested first before you can get into drug court. And it only deals with people in the criminal justice system. There's a lot of people in the CNMI who have addictions that don't commit crimes. And that's why it's good that you guys are doing these types of outreach to people, even classes or whatever, because the more you spread the word that there are options for people who if they get arrested, or even if they don't, they just want to deal with their addictions on their own. Because a lot of times families, for whatever reason, for shame, they don't want to deal with it. But you can recommend to people to go and get treatment. And treatment is the only way people can get help for addiction. There's no other way. And people can be lifelong addicts, but the only way that they can stay away from fulfilling their addictions is through treatment. And that's why drug court and programs like through CGC, the Community Guidance Center, and the Hope facility up in Marpi are so important. And I mean, I'll open up for questions because I could talk about this for a long time, because I mean, this is what I do. Being a prosecutor is something that I'm very proud of. I love what I do, especially because I can help people in the community when especially when it comes to addiction and stuff like that. There's a lot. I mean, regardless of what side you're on, if you're the victim of a crime, or if you're the family of a defendant who committed a crime, you can feel you can feel that this shouldn't happen, but it does, because people want to get money or do whatever they can do to get to fulfill their addictions. And so, yeah, I'll leave it. I'll give it back to Arnel. If you have any questions for me, I'm here. And also, I mean, I'm here at the AG's office. If you want to talk to me outside of this class, you can always contact me at the AG's office at the Criminal Division.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to the presenters, and please go ahead and fill out the survey. It is in the chat, and have a great day.